It's easy for us today to make the mistake of thinking of a knight and his relationship with his lord as more like an employee with his employer. A knight related to his lord more as a son relates to his father. The power of a medieval lord was centered around his household, his family, his knights, his servants. It's hard to overstate the bond between a knight and his lord. In attaching oneself to the household of a great lord, you were in essence becoming a member of his family. There was an oath of homage that was performed by the knight. We recognize this today from the posture of the praying hands. If you think about how Christians today, if you go into a lot of churches, you will see this. In the oath of homage, the knight would place his hands like this, and the lord would place his hands around the knight's hands, and they would swear their mutual oath. The knight would swear loyalty to this lord. He swears to fight for him, to protect him. The Lord swears to provide for his man. He's going to provide him with weapons, food, a place to live, horses, possibly even a wife. To show you the intensity of this relationship, in legal documents from the era, the names of a lord's knights would be interspersed among the names of his own family members. What a man could provide for his knights would depend upon his own wealth. Some of the very great lords, they could provide whole estates to their knights, so their knights could themselves be lords, and they would have their own household around them. A lord of lesser means might only be able to provide a sword, a horse, and a feather mattress if he's lucky. So who exactly were the men that would end up as the knights in service to a particular lord? Well, they could be really just about any man of knightly status. They could be his own relatives, and often they were, his brothers, his own sons, maybe even his bastard sons. This would not be an uncommon place for a bastard son to end up as a knight retained by his father. They could be his wife's relatives, his wife's brothers. Godfrey of Bouillon, he received his status as Duke of Lorraine from his maternal uncle, who was also named Godfrey. Of course, it didn't have to be a relative at all. This could be just some guy who showed up. He's willing to fight. He's a good fighter. And the Lord says, yeah, sure, we'll take you. Let's bring you on. Something like this would have happened pretty frequently in the Crusader states, especially early on. Here you have a situation where a lot of new territories are being established, and lords, they need men to fight for them. So, if you're looking to make a way for yourself, you can travel to the Holy Land, and you can probably find a position with one of the great lords in one of these new Crusader states. Based on this arrangement, you can see how generosity from the Lord, this was not a luxury. This was a necessity. A lord had to provide bountifully to his vassals. He provided them with fine clothing, with excellent weapons, with excellent horses. He would make marriages for them. This is how a man had power. This was how a great lord had power. It was by his ability to be generous toward his vassals. These knights not only shared in the wealth of their lord, but they shared in his power as well. They sat on his great council. We've got this classic image of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. King Arthur sitting at this round table with his knights. They were governing. They were holding counsel together. A great lord would seek counsel from his men. We think of, a lord or a king as somebody who can kind of do whatever he wants. No, not at all. When you look at medieval documents, this comes up over and over again. You'll hear about some king or some great lord. It says he consulted with his men. He gathered his men around him and held counsel. This isn't just like he was looking for some good advice. This is how the actual governing process took place.